Hey everyone, ever wondered how to create a compelling future for your clients? How do we engage in conversations that really expands the horizon for us? Ever felt stuck in a certain approach to conversations and especially in your coaching approach? Well, today I'm going to share with you one very special tool, what we call Puture, the non-linear approach to coaching. So if you're new to our channel, hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Now, many people ask me, say, Jedi, how do we think about our linear timeline? How do we approach conversations with a client when our client gets stuck? Or how do we think about the distance? Well, the truth is this. When we think about the timeline in our engagement with our clients, often we think about it very linearly. As such, many conversations happen at a very linear form. We start thinking about where we are, where we want to be, and we find the gap, right, from where we are, where we want to be, where we don't want to be. So oftentimes we see it from a very linear scale. This is with the past, this is the present, that's the future. And that's how we see life. That's how we see our steps forward. And oftentimes, this is what we always hear from individuals and from clients. They're often saying this. They say, Jedi, I don't like my past. I want to change my past. I'm kind of stuck. I'm kind of stuck in this, in the middle. I want to know how to go forward, but I can't seem to find the right way to go forward. I know that I need to move forward in this, but I just can't find the energy to get out of this quagmire. How do I do that? But yet, when I look at the future seems bleak because all I see it's just another pandemic, another climate crisis, another industry revolution. I'm just feeling so stuck. I'm not sure about my career, my life, my relationship, my family anymore. How do I do that? Well, the good news is this. The approach by which we see the world has to change for us to be able to take on a whole new landscape. Too often, coaches, they are coaching in a very linear fashion. They look at what's the past, they look at where's the present, and help the client to move forward to the future. But that's the problem. If we're just looking at the future, we're kind of stuck in linear timeline because we're only seeing that one path. Think about this. Clients come to you and say, hey, I wish I can get into that dream career. I wish I had gotten to a better school. I wish I had, met this person, that person. I wish I was in a better relationship. I just can't see a way out of this. The reason that happens is because we are seeing the future in a very linear fashion. I say that again, we're seeing the future in a very linear fashion. The past is where the past has happened. The past is in the past. We can't change the past. But what we can change, what's in our control today, it's the present moment, the present decision making to help us influence the future. So I say that again, the past can't be changed. The reality of the space of the world we live in, it's that what has happened has happened. The past has happened and there's no way for us to change that. But what we can change and what we can take control today, it's by making a conscious effort to change today. Because if we can make a choice today, now that choice will influence the future. So how do we begin to think about all this? Well, I like to start us with thinking about the past first, because that's where most of us are kind of comfortable. So in our past, we often say this, I wish, if only I was born in a different place, if only I learned that, if only I was stronger, if only I studied harder, if only, I put in more effort, if only I've met this right person, relationship, I get into this organization, if only. Life of if onlys. So the past, we look at the past and we sometimes regret, sometimes we feel happy, sometimes we feel sad, sometimes we feel joyful. But the past does tell us one thing. The past is our repository, a library of all the insights and learnings and lessons in our life. Many people look at the past and they want to run away from the past. But what we don't realize is that the past holds our very history. The past holds the library of insights, learnings, experiences that we can tap on to help us in our present moment. This is how I see the way we look at timeline. When we look at timeline, we often see time as just a linear fashion. We think about how do we move the next step, right? But we don't realize that timeline is a gift to us. We don't see that time, it's our very gift. Leaders, coaches, L&D, learning development experts, business owners have to see that the timeline is a great gift. So what do we do with this timeline? Well, the first thing we need to do is look at the past. Now, notice this, I say look at the past. I don't say live in the past. There's a big difference. There's some people who look at the past, they stay in the past, they live in the past. Because the past glories, they can't get out of it. Today, I see individuals still celebrating the victories of the past, but yet they can't move on. So some people rest on their laurels because they see the past as success. Oh, I've done it before, I can do it again. But you know what? Because of that attitude, what has happened is that when they're moving from the present moment forward, oftentimes complacency sets in. That happens in organization as well. Complacency sets in, and what happens follows. It's that they no longer are sharp in their thinking, they're no longer mindful, they're no longer focused because they have been so complacent in the past. Now, what about if our past, it's kind of a dangerous past or a past that's negative? We don't like the past. Maybe you were shy, maybe you were scolded when you were young, or maybe you just can't seem to do all that's right in the past. What can you do? Well, the great news is this. The past is our repository of learnings. That learnings are unique to you, and no one can steal it away from you. But how you utilize the past is going to be important, because from which lens we see will be important. So when I look at the past, I see the past as learnings, insights for me to take to the present moment. I extract the learnings of the past, integrate with what's happening in my present context, and change the way I make choices for the future. I say that again. I look in my past, I extract the learnings and insights from the past, change my present behavior, decision making, to influence my very outcome that I want to see for my future. And that is going to be critical as we explore this notion of the timeline. So the past holds secrets as well, because the past tells us a lot of our internal heuristics, our internal anchors, our internal triggers. What triggers us, what motivates us, what excites us, what compels us. The past has all this richness that I want you to be able to use them to move yourself forward. So with the past learnings, this is something going to be very important for us. So when I look at the past, I want you to draw the learnings. Take, for example, a particular event. Say for example, you're saying that, hey, how do I get more confidence in speaking in front of public? How do I get more confidence in standing in front of a large audience? Well, let's look at the past. Let's see what has gone well. Let's see what has not gone so well. Let's extract the learnings. Now notice this, I say extract the learnings. I don't say let's think about what went wrong. Now, the actions and behaviors in those times and seasons are when we are still learning in the process, and there are learnings to have happened. So we take those learnings and insights, and now we reflect upon this present moment. Why am I still stuck in this present moment? What am I really stuck with? What am I stuck about? What am I perturbed about? So the past holds clues to our present dilemma. I say that again. The past holds clues to our very present dilemma. So whatever quagmire you're stuck in, this very moment that we're stuck in often has to do with different patterns and heuristics that we have in the past that's influencing what we are experiencing today. So it's going to be very important for us to consider how we utilize all this into our entire timeline process. So the very present moment is something that we're going to consider as well. What do we mean by present moment? So when you think about the present moment, what is present? Are we present with ourselves? Are we present with others? Are we present with the world? How do we move about that? So the present moment tells us something. What do we see, what we hear, what we feel about the very present moment tells us and encapsulates for us in this moment. Are we living in the moment? Are we living in the past? Or are we just getting stuck in the future? Always seeing the possibilities of the future, but never quite taking actions today to move towards that. So you have individuals living in the past, you have individuals living in the future, you have individuals getting stuck in the middle. Where do we want to be? Well, most of us want to create a compelling future so we can go forward. We don't want to stay in the middle. We don't want to stay stuck in the middle. We want to be able to move forward. We want to be able to go forward and see the world in a whole new lens. We don't want to stay forever in the middle. So how do we do that? Well, the secret is this. The secret is in looking towards the future. So how do we look at the future? While most people, when they look at the future, they think of the future as a very linear timeline. They see the future as just one singular pathway. But what they don't realize is that the future isn't linear. The future is non-linear. I say that again. The future isn't linear. The future is non-linear. What that means is that the future has multiple possibilities. Just when you think the possibilities is stopped, just when you think there's a barrier, just when you think there's a war, the future is not a war. The future has multiple doors to multiple different pathways. So when we think that we are hopeless, when we think that we are helpless, when we think that all things are just crumbling around us, I want you to know that the future has much, much more doorways for us to consider. Sometimes you hear this saying, the future is bright, but at this moment we say, I can't see it, it's not bright at all. Well, the reason that happens is because there's still a fog in the future. And that's fine. The secret is this: it's not to stay in that fog. If you have driven your car in the early mornings, you find that sometimes in the early mornings there are dense, thick fog. But what do? We don't say we wait until the fog is over. We could, but for us to really move forward, we take every step forward, one step at a time. But each step of the way, clarity happens, unveiling happens. That sense of revelation happens at each step of the way. So when we think about this now, we're saying, hey, the future, it's not just one line. The future, it's possible lines, multiple different possibilities. And that, my friends, it's what I call Puture. Puture, it's that plenitude of possibilities. Puture is that when we look at the future, we're not looking at future as just one pathway. We're saying that all the possibilities that are conscious, possibilities that are unconscious, possibilities that are known to us, not known to us, and the unknown of the unknowns. So you may say, Jedi, why is this important for us? Well, the truth is this. Innovations happen when we look at the future in possibilities. Innovation happens when we look in the future with possibilities. The Puture mindset or the Puture approach to conversations is one where we hear the pathway that the client is taking, and when the client gets stuck in it, we want to help them realize that the feeling of stuckness is just a point for us to take a stock take, for us to consider how do we want to take it forward, how do we want to expand it, how do we want to go forward in this. Because the future is not just stuck in the now and now, the future has many pathways. So how do we take this forward? Well, I want to first give you the definition of how I define Puture. Puture is the plenitude of future possibilities. It is the very encapsulation of non-linear conversation flow that evokes an expanded ways of thinking. So, maybe perhaps right now you have a certain frame of mind about thinking about the future. Maybe you think about the future in terms of structure. You think about the future in terms of sequence of events. Maybe you think about the future as an amalgamation. Maybe you think about the future as something that is very, very struggling because you can't see anything that's ahead. Well, the first thing we need to do is this. If all things were possible, if there's no limitation of resources, if there's no limitation of competencies and skills, how would you like to take forward your future? How would you like to control and seize control of the very choice you make about the future? Now know this, we cannot change the environmental factors. Now what we can change is the internal environment. The external environment sometimes are beyond our control, but our internal environment is more important than the external environment. If we can control the way we view ourselves on the inside, the way we set the internal environment, we can control the way we create the future. So when having coaching conversation, how does that look like? Well, for one, it's that often when I hear coaches coach clients, coaches have this in mind. They have a certain plan. They have a certain way out for the client. They have already a postulated way ahead, a postulated solutions, because they're so focused on the solution, on the results, that they lose the entire process. So that's why I often say that coaching, it's not just focusing on one point. Coaching, it's about taking the step back, breathing, seeing, experiencing every step of the way. Yes, while we're looking towards that outcome, that solution, while we're looking towards getting to that end goal, we're not forgetting every step of the way, everything, the flowers on the side, the majesty of the sun rays, the winds that are coming towards us, even the very placements of things, we are not forgetting that. Even the sadness and joys of life, even in the jaunts of life's journey, even in the vicissitudes of life. What I want for all of us to experience is this: that coaching conversations are there to hold the space for you to experience every single thing that's happening around you, for you to take a moment to account and recount all the glorious, amazing things that has happened in your times past. So, with that extraction of the learnings and insights from the past, in the very present moment, we are taking the conscious effort to say, hey, where we are right now, when we look to the future, we're saying, hey, this is my plan, but I'm not limited to my plan because I've put in place different possibilities for me to expand further. Because when I see the future, it's just multiple different pathways. One of the amazing scenes in Avengers Endgame, I always remember this when the Ancient One and Hawk met on the rooftop. The Ancient One showed Hawk, if I remove the stone, it expands out into multiple parallel pathways. Do you know that the future has not yet been written, but we are the very authors of that future? We can decide what actions to take. We can decide today how we want to move forward in the future. But how do we do that in a way that is both efficacious, in a way that's both congruent to who we are, what we believe, what we stand for, and in a way that's congruent to our outcome? Too often when people see the future, they see the future as just a very, very linear timeline, a very linear pathways. I work, I get children, I get married, I get old, I take care of my grandkids, and I pass on. They see life very linearly. But life, it's more than that. Life, it's meant to be experienced. In the stories of Ikigai, when I met some of my Japanese friends, I'm often perplexed by what the Western media portray Ikigai as. They often show Venn diagrams of Ikigai. But that cannot be further from the truth. The truth is this: Ikigai is about experiencing every single moment, being thankful, the meaning of being in that very moment. Whether it's in sickness, in health, in sadness, in happiness, in joy, we're taking every step of the way, acknowledging the moment, being grateful and thankful, and moving forward. The secret about coaching is in getting the clients to move forward. How can we get the clients to move forward every step of the way? It's not about just staying still. It's about moving forward. It's about getting that next step. It's about taking that 1 micro-millimeter shift. It's about that 1% increase. Even if it's a 0.01%, that's a good percentage. So when we consider this, I want you to know this, that the future is no longer linear. So what can we as coaches do? Well, what we can do as coaches is this. We first explore the current mindset, the current thinking about the future of the client. And once we have that, we begin to expand with the client. We begin to explore the worlds within the world that the client has painted about the future, their perception of the future, their perception of the world that will be in the future. And then from that, we begin to go deeper to the world within. So first, the world without, and then the world within. From the world within, we begin to shape the way that they see the world. We begin to alter the meanings that they have. Now, that doesn't mean that I change the meanings for them. No, I'm just exploring for them. I'm then making aware to them, what are they holding close to their hearts? What do they hold very dear to their hearts? What meaning do they hold very close to their hearts? Remember, in the coaching process, the awareness is not for the coach. The awareness is for the client. I'm invoking awareness for the client to understand their world in a whole another way. In the Puture non-linear approach of coaching, it's about helping the clients to see the world in a whole another way. Extraction of learnings, insights of the past, looking at the future with plenitudes of possibilities, and looking at this very present moment, the very tools I have, and then saying that this is the one step I'm going to take. The one step I'm going to take. It doesn't matter if I don't have a full picture of it, clarity will surely come. I don't need full clarity to take the next step forward. All I need to know, it's my next step. Can I see my next step forward? Yes, let's move forward. Can I design the next step, the very micro step? Yes, if I can see that, let's take the next step forward. Taking every step, one step at a time. And that's the beauty of coaching conversations. The beauty of coaching conversations rests in the experience of the flow. It rests in the experience where we co-create that space for the client. The Puture approach when we look at coaching conversations is that it's all about us holding the space for the client, giving the chance for client to explore, pause, reflect, smell the flowers. Take a moment just to breathe. And that's the joy of a non-linear approach in coaching. In the subsequent videos, I'm going to share with you more and more techniques of how we can take this forward. In fact, in my private classes, when I'm coaching clients one-on-one, when I'm mentoring coaches one-on-one as well, I teach them how to employ tactically, tactfully, skillfully, strategically, employment of Puture approach in their coaching process. Even with the clients that I'm taking on as well, I get them to consider life in a whole nother spectrum. So if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Stay tuned for more, because I'm going to share with you more and more techniques in the coming weeks as well. So do remember to hit the subscribe button and share this with your friends. Until next time, this is Jedi here at Coaching Changes Lives. Stay blessed.